Hey guys, Shalana here. Welcome to the Binge Zone. On today's video, we're going to be looking at the Netflix original series Dracula, which is also a BBC production because this show comes from the same creators who brought us Sherlock. And if you haven't seen Sherlock, definitely check it out because that show is awesome. So I went into Dracula with high hopes because, it's the legend of Dracula. The legend of Dracula is as old as urban legends themselves, right? And you have Dracula and Van Helsing. It's one of the best urban legends we have. So I went in there with high hopes. Sherlock creator, Dracula, Netflix. The pot, everything in the pot was good to go. So I'm diving in there head first. I'm excited. And then I saw the first episode. And let me stop fronting. I love that first episode because this show is phenomenal. I'm not one to rave about shows, especially shows that are only 3 episodes long because me, I love me a good binge watch. But I was able to finish Dracula relatively fast and I enjoyed the show because when you think about Dracula and you think about that legend, it's been told a bunch of times before. So what new thing could they bring into this? I thought the story of Dracula was beaten to death, so I went in there haphazardly, but after that first episode, I was hooked. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Interview with the Vampire, but that first episode gave me that vibe. The gothic noir look of the series really captivated what it means to be in the presence of Count Dracula. But as the story went on in the first episode and subsequent episodes, we got to know more about the character of Count Dracula. And usually Dracula is portrayed a few different ways, but this Dracula was a little bit more complex, a little bit more sophisticated, and that worked. But not just his portrayal, but every other character, the actors really brought their A games to the show because this show deals with a lot with character interaction and dialogue. And if you're gonna have a show that deals with a lot of dialogue, granted, there's a lot of action too, but if you're gonna bring me with some dialogue and tell a convincing story, the actors have to be the ones to bring their A game and have to convince us like, yo, this Dracula guy is not one to fuck with. But at the same time, the protagonists have to have a glimmer of hope of winning. No spoilers, Dracula's a vampire, he eats people, he drinks blood, he kills people, so he's the bad guy, the antagonist. But when a show can take an antagonist like Dracula and make us, the audience, really embrace his character and like him, and you never know what's going to come out of his mouth next. You never know his next action. He's always one step ahead of the audience. That works. And you take the show and you put it in the gothic noir setting in the first episode, and then you take it to the high seas in the second episode, and the third episode you bring it like I don't want to go too deep into the third episode, but the fact that they can transition between different set pieces and countries or areas and you tell a convincing story and you never feel like just because Dracula is a god, vampire creature, he's gonna win all the time. But let's get the elephant out of the room here. Van Helsing. They gender swap Van Helsing. I'm gonna let some of you in the comment section, I'm gonna let some of you guys flip out real quick because a lot of people have troubles with gender bending. But I didn't mind this one. This one worked for the story. That's my thing. If you're gonna gender bend, make it work. If you're gonna race bend, make it work and make the character unique and don't make him a pastiche of the actual original character. So if you're gonna make a Van Helsing, don't make this Van Helsing like the badass Van Helsing. Bring their own flavor, and they do. The Van Helsing, Agatha Van Helsing, was just as intricate as the Van Helsings we know before, but she brings a different flavor. She's a nun, struggles with her belief system, but she knows one thing: Dracula must be stopped. And I love the dynamic between them, the cat and mouse between Van Helsing throughout the episodes with Dracula. And it's not like I said, she's not a badass warrior by any stretch of the imagination that's a vampire hunter. No, she's a nun, but she knows Dracula's evil and must be stopped. So they're cat and mouse. And the way she's so brilliant really brings forward the show, really brings the show full circle because Dracula is smart. You have to be, if you're hundreds of years old, you've been feeding on people and you're still alive. You have to be smart and one step ahead of the game. But when you meet someone who you would call your intellectual match, it makes you pause and think, yo, this one, they got one. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed the show. The show brings a new layer to the Dracula mythos because it's a new Van Helsing, as well as they made this Dracula charming, more modern, and it aged with us, the audience, because usually Dracula stories don't age well with the audience. For example, Dracula 2000 or that other Dracula movie, kind of. But this works in the subtext of it's a show, it has great dialogue, great action, great acting, and it works. The story works. It's compelling enough to have you glued and interested and their verbal sparring, their mental sparring, because again, it's from the creators of Sherlock. So, you know, there's a lot of mental sparring. And when you have two great characters that are fundamentally different from each other but have an underlying similarity and they're both geniuses, watching two geniuses work really works and drives it home. Overall, I enjoyed Dracula, but what are your thoughts on the show? Let me know in the comment section below because I'd love to hear your feedback, guys. And if you guys want a more direct line with me, you want to talk Dracula or other shows, hit me up on Twitter. I'm always responding to tweets. Follow me, I'll get back to you. And if you want to support the Binge Zone, consider supporting us on Patreon. Because with people like you supporting us, we can get more great content. But guys, that's it for Dracula. Until next time, binge on.